Headmaster McHenry, Karen, Mike, and the Board of Governors, staff, faculty members, including those who may have aided me between 1988 and 1991, parents, and most of all, to the graduating class of 2014. I am deeply, deeply honored to be here tonight to share my thoughts with you. I'm extremely proud of my association with the school, and tonight I'd like to kind of share a secret with everyone. Probably no one knows this, and I know the security's changed in the school, but most every year that I left Ontario a long time ago, and eventually Canada, during the holidays I actually return home, and I always make a point of driving up and kind of going around the school. It's not stalking, it's just something I do. So what I do is I usually drive past the chapel and I do kind of a loop of the quad, and then I go around past the dining hall and through the parking lot where the Day Boys park. And as a converted boarder, I curse under my breath at Day Boys in general. And then what I like to do is I like to reflect on the year, kind of where my life is going, where I want to be in 5 years' time. And then I think to myself, what will I have to report to the statue of St. Andrews in front of Macbeth's next year? And to me, this epitomizes the importance to me of being an Andrean. I find the community reflects a collection of shared experiences across time, cultural background, and individual identity. I find St. Andrews is a community that acknowledges its roots, stands together, and celebrates its accomplishments as one. Every time I return to Aurora, I feel I can't let the school down. I can't let the Old Boys community down, and now you, as graduates of the school, I can't let you down. So what I would ask tonight before we kind of get started down our journey together is to the class of 2014, I would just say, take a moment right now and think to yourself, what is kind of the most vivid, interesting, unique, sensory experience you have about the school? Just take a moment, and when I think about it, I say, is it the chapel is kind of a bit musty? Is it the really eerie kind of plaques? Is it the feeling of kind of the wet grass when you're waiting in front of Mac House to start the cross-country run? I hope my references aren't dated. Is it at the carol service when there's always one person who misses that quiet note in the Dorset Carol? Or is it just the view of seeing 500, now 600 people in scarlet tunics on quad in May? Alternatively, is your experience the feeling of skipping chapel? Is it when you sneak out at night on a Tuesday to walk into town? Is it the first time you locked the doors of the pizza man and then offered him for a free pizza to help him get back into his car? Now, we all find comfort in those experiences, and what's highly interesting to me, and through my association with the New York Association of Old Boys, all of the experiences are largely comparable. They just happen at different points in time. So what I would say to you, the class of 2014, is that you have a very big day tomorrow. It's an amazing accomplishment of what you have done, and marks the beginning of your next phase of life and personal development. Now, before we begin, of course, I think it's already been done a couple times tonight, so I'll keep this brief. I just really would like to reflect on the parents and take a moment to recognize their sacrifice financially, time-wise, and having the foresight to give their children the gift of St. Andrews, and how you catapulted them ahead of the pack, hopefully towards the next step. Now, I would footnote kind of what I call a not-so-fast observation, because I think your parents actually procured your Andrean passage in a manhood of the bargain. What I did do through the school is I did a review of tuition costs since I left the school until now, and it implies an annual growth rate of 4.7% per year, a premium of almost 3% over the rate of inflation over the same period. Now, if this growth continues, when my wife and I hope to have an Andrean in this room 20 years from now, tuition will be approximately $125,000. So we'll be working for a while. Now, before we get into it, I just want to have a little roadmap of what I hope to accomplish tonight when kind of speaking to the class of 2014. Once again, I am deeply honored to be here tonight, and when Nick called me and invited me to come, my first reaction was, I don't know if I've accomplished anything of note to be here. I remember in 1986, when I was in grade 7, the Prime Minister of Jamaica did this speech. When I graduated, it was the Chief Justice of the Court of Appeal. And an old boy reminded me a few weeks ago that the chairman of the Gold Corp also stood here. So I have big shoes to fill. So now here comes me, the 1.5%er on Wall Street, who gives away cheap money to the 0.0001%. So then I thought, well, maybe they asked me to come here because I consider myself as someone who's comfortable with their choices in life, someone who really has no regrets and has a measured balance of taking risk, having a few successes along the way, but learning from their mistakes, all underpinned by the foundation I received at this college. It's really difficult to do this speech without giving too many cliches or make sayings that are usually suitable for a t-shirt or a coffee mug. The good news, though, is I've been researching on the internet, and we can thank Hal Gore for that. I don't have to remind you tonight that you shouldn't run with scissors. And the reason I bring that up is that in 2010, there were no fatalities from running with scissors, even though there were 4,500 scissor-related injuries. If I were to sum up the message I want to go over in the next kind of, hopefully, 7-10 minutes, I would break it down into 4 parts to the class of 2014. My message to you is that as you approach this next stage of life, you have to make your own rules. You have to seek out change. You have to define life with your own goalposts, and along the way, never forget what it means to be an Andrew. What do I mean when I say you make your own rules and seek change? So what I did when I was preparing my remarks tonight is I looked through my review from 1991, and I looked at my class and said, where are they now? So I put people into traditional, non-traditional, and miscellaneous buckets. People went into teaching, Jane Ingalls, law, financial services, engineering, non-traditional, film directing, winemaking, what I'll call RCMP-ing, music, miscellaneous, trust fund, Shake, Caribbean, and what I'll call unknown. My only hope to you is that over the next 30 years, you manage to live a life where you live at a number of places, have 3 to 4 different careers, and by the time you hit age 40, you have no idea what your next move is. The good news is that you've been guided over 17 years into being relatively normal, and if you're lucky and you still have your teeth and haven't been arrested, you now have the fun of living for another 5 to 45 years, defining your own goals and the personal rules in your game. Secondly, when you're able to live your life within your own terms and objectives, you're able to attain the passion and work ethic to deal with adversity, learn from failure, and rise over time to a level of achievement that meets your own goals. This can only occur when you love what you do, have a passion for the game, and have the confidence to win. Also, I feel it's important than ever as you approach the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, to really understand how to seek out and embrace change. At a 10,000-foot level, change is the only constant in how you conduct yourself. The key is to understand the confluence of current factors, take a view on what drives current success, and how you should be positioned for the future. The issue is most people really can't judge the timing or magnitude of these types of trends, but that doesn't really matter, and I'll explain in a second. In my professional life in banking, our firm often focuses on finding investment opportunities for companies, helping structure a transaction and capital structure, and selling into the market. Successful closing is a stamp of approval that, as of that one time, a company's plan for growth is actionable. So, when you're developing that, you have to look at macro trends. When I look at you, the class of 2014, when you're entering St. Andrews, and I make round numbers 2007, 2008, and I compare the world from then until now, you see a change in knock-on effects from one to the other. In 2007, 2008, the world was about emerging market growth, developing middle class, commodity demand for developing that infrastructure, outsourcing manufacturing to lower cost countries, new regulation in response to issues surrounding governments that were maybe a bit weaker in the financial sector especially, and peak economic activity for a while. Currently, we live in a completely different world. Unfortunately, there are lower growth expectations and lower labor force participation, but we have a North American energy boom. We have a once in a millennial opportunity to shift manufacturing back to NAFTA and use energy advantages to improve our cost. Now, why am I mentioning this? Because I'm just trying to catch people before they fall asleep. The importance is that successful people analyze these macro drivers, look at the knock-on impacts, and then take a view on the future. As you, the class of 2014, finish school, and then 5 years from now you'll finish university, and then as you enter the workforce, you don't have to time these factors. You just have to jump in when an industry is not yet defined. You don't have to own the day or be the biggest player. You just have to be positioned in an adjacent manner in order to benefit from that growth. You can add new technologies, distribution methods, and form of communication that call into question traditional business models. You represent a new generation that will enter the workforce in less than a decade with a unique opportunity to make your own change. While others struggle with low expectations for growth, they trudge along with accepted ways of accomplishing problems without questioning the norm. Create the race for yourself, define the game, seek change, position yourself for it, and have the confidence to jump in. Next, I'd like to go through what I call defining your world with your own purpose. Really, what does that mean? And it's just my thoughts, sharing a few ideas on the day-to-day of getting there. First off, I'd like to mention a few members of the class here tonight that with the help of the school, I've been able to research as a mosaic of my time at St. Andrews. The people I've identified are Jean-Philippe McCluskey, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, Tobias Diekman, Alex Auger, Cody McMillan, and Zach Marcus. Now, Jean-Philippe and Tobias, you lived in my room in Flavel House. My advice to you is don't put beer bottles in the ceiling, they'll find them. Alex, you were active in debating. My advice to you, it will be cool someday, and keep using the starting speeches with definitions from Webster's Dictionary, because it always kills it. Cody, you are a spiritual leader in JV hockey. Don't worry, my therapist tells me that's okay, because I never made first hockey. And Zach, I've been told you're a leader in the football program. I don't have anything to say to you. You can sit down now. Apparently you're a good athlete. In the early 1990s, SAC had the worst football teams in the history of organized sports. Okay. Now I'd like to go back and revert to my Canadian roots and provide something in what I call the great moderation. Rules that I try to follow, but balanced with an opposite and competing ideal. Frankly, in looking at my wife, I haven't figured out a lot of these myself. Number one, have a plan, but be flexible along the way. People always say that in trial law, you never ask a question of someone unless you already know the answer. My advice to you is that every time you enter a new phase in life, be it education, career, you should make a medium and long-term plan of what you want to get out of that and already be thinking 5 years ahead. The key is to have the passion to get up every day and foresight to avoid the familiar, seeking instead the undefined and unknown. 2, play up and be confident, but don't believe your BS. This one's very important, that I wish I figured out. When you're in your 20s, people only want you for your hard work and labor. When you're in your 30s, people only want you for your ability to manage projects and people. When you're in your 40s, people want you for your Rolodex. So what I would say is that while you're in your 20s, try to work in the most insane environment, either geographical or job-wise, or the profile of your lifestyle from day to day, and be in the best place you can be out of the gate. Constantly play up to the next level, that you help those around you and prepare for the next phase. In your 30s, you have to fake it till you make it, but be mindful that everything is a team effort. As you find success, remember that it's a team, and most of the time it's not about you. My third point is that you should learn from failure, celebrate wins, but always be thinking about how do I move on to the next one. What I would say is that the unfortunate legacy of the Walt Disney Corporation is it's created a societal expectation that storylines culminate in a cathartic emotional ending. That is, unless of course you're a fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs. When you are up, celebrate your wins. Acknowledge help along the way and move on to the next one. When you are down, take a moment to reflect on the learning, get up and move on to the next challenge. Number 4 is the idea that you should have a lot of acquaintances but a few friends. I've always been told by a good friend of mine that there are 2 types of friends in this world. People who will help you move a couch and people who will help you move a body. Now, interaction with people is not a zero-sum game where you extract what you want and never engage again. I never believed this when I was in your seat right now. But the people who are in this room right now and the people you will meet over the next 2, 3, 5, 7 years, you will see them everywhere for the next 40. So you're always running into them, so you have to treat them with respect, be patient with others, understand their objectives in dealing with you. Always have fun and celebrate life. It's always okay to wear a lampshade on your head, but if it becomes a habit, you'll become the guy with the lampshade on his head. So, in finishing up on the section of understanding and defining your own goalposts, I summarize it by letting everyone know what's in my wallet at all times. First, at all times, I keep a Sasquatch driver's license that I bought in Washington State because it kills when you're getting carded at a point and you're in your 40s. Secondly, I have a hokey Excel sheet that I made up 11, 12 years ago that makes no sense. That said, year to year, here's what my net worth will be. Now, that's kind of shallow and fake, but the idea is that you keep a plan. Last of all, I have a cutout of an email from my now father-in-law telling me to take care of my wife. What I'm trying to say is that in order to deal with the ups and downs, you have to celebrate life and laugh at yourself. You have to have a plan and stick to it, but be willing to adjust along the way. And lastly, you have to be surrounded by a supporting network of friends and family you love. I would like to conclude tonight by giving my thoughts on being an Andrean, which will be largely echoed by previous speakers this evening. I'd like to say that I'm proud of the legacy of the school and the achievements of those who have passed through the gates. And I feel that through the efforts of the faculty and staff. I feel that in the 23 years since I left the school, it's in a better place than ever and always improving. And I'd like to take just a second or two for everyone to applaud the efforts of the current faculty. I consider being an Andrean to be an achievement, one that I wear on my sleeve, but not only for me, but for my family who made the sacrifices to help me get here. As an Andrean, I seek comfort in the success of others. Now it's more interesting because I love the live streaming of the football and hockey games, and 2 Wednesdays a year, I can set up kind of a betting booth on the trading floor and try to make money off of people who just don't understand SAC UCC. Football didn't go well this year, and I lost $100. 7.5 spread. I do see the St. Andrews community as a source of support through my own personal journey. I try to help out young old boys, but I try to take a page from the book of Scott Hayter's predecessor, Jim Herder. When I used to visit him in his office, I was so young I didn't understand the body language that it was time to go and he was a busy person. So Jim would always say to me, "Can I give you a tour of the computer science lab?" So to the class of 2014, you are here tonight as the recipient of a great gift. The experiences you've been exposed to, the academic and athletic regime that you've been guided, and the support network you are entering into are an immense leg up as you enter the next challenge. Use it to your advantages, celebrate your successes, and move on to the next one. I wish you the best of luck tomorrow and hope to share in your accomplishments in this room 20 years from now. Quit you like men, be strong.